Thank you. That's very cool.
Yeah, listen, I feel the same way, and I don't do this kind of stuff. This isn't my gig at all. But I was the reason I'm here. How many people in the room are actors? Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. And
Same.
I think it's important to celebrate when somebody does it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know there's like a long game for all these kind of things, but I'll tell you, when I watched the movie with my fiance, and when that movie ended, I turned to her and I said, "He did it." And she said, "Yeah, he did." And so one of the first things I thought that I wanted to talk to you about, as like people in the room were also trying to do it, when a performance works, you're able to think, "Oh, he did it." But it's easy to overlook how scary it would be if you didn't do it. Like, you're walking into a role where the degree of it being embarrassing if it goes wrong is really, really high. You know, were you scared in prepping for this?
Yeah, I was terrified, because I think this is the kind of movie that I'm first and foremost a devout fan of actors, and I love acting so much, to the point of I could almost be standing outside with the posters and the pen, knowing that you're here. I grew up where the first time we met was a few weeks ago, and I remember thinking, I saw you and I just went, end of the tour. That movie, you know, I love performance so much, and being in a film with Guillermo is kind of that's what you want to do, and you want to play something that is a sort of full-blown character. And I had sort of been nibbling around the edges, I think, of a performance like this for a long while, and this was the first sort of opportunity I had to say, you know, this is me, and this is what I do. So I did feel like I was acting for my life a little bit when I got the role. And also Andrew Garfield had dropped out, and that's an actor that I'm sure you guys have as well, just studied meticulously. His kind of, you know, he's done everything, his stage work and film work. So it was sort of big shoes to fill. But I think when you kind of have, this is going to sound very cliched, but when you have nothing to do, the only thing you can do is walk straight off the cliff. And if you smash at the bottom, like, at least you got paid some money, and you know, and you got to work with like one of the greatest filmmakers. So even if you're the one that ruins the greatest filmmakers, you know, magnum opus, you may as well fucking, you know, do a backflip when you jump off the cliff, if that makes if that makes any sense. You know, you may as well put some flair on it and give it a crack.
Yeah, because it's the kind of thing, I've only had one end of the tour was the only experience that I've had where I'm like, oh, if I do this wrong, it looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's the degree of embarrassment potential is really, really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was so brave. The other thing I also know from knowing Guillermo a tiny bit is that Frankenstein's the one for him.
That's his.
That's been his one for a long time. Yeah. Did he articulate to you the vision he had for how the monster would be played, or did you collaborate on that?
No, we the first time that we spoke, the only sort of rules he gave me were about the makeup process. So before I had the role or anything like that, we had a FaceTime. And he said, if you don't fully embrace the makeup as part of your process, he said, he makes everything grand and operatic. And he said, it needs to be biblical. When you sit down for the makeup, you need to take the sacrament, you need to eat the flesh, and you need to drink the blood. And that's what the paint is when it touches you. That's when the glue touches your skin. It's not glue and prosthetics. It's a metamorphosis of the character and yourself. And if that's not what you want to do, then this isn't there's no point of us, you know, even going down this road together. And luckily I was at a point where career-wise and just sort of life-wise, I was wanting to disappear. I really wanted to go away for a while because I was so sort of had been sort of marked by my career and the roles that I had played, and I was in this position where I really still felt like I hadn't said the thing that I wanted to say or done the thing that I wanted to do. So the idea of undergoing a metamorphosis and a fusion of like the character and the self in a real practical way with prosthetics was something that I was really excited by. But then with the playing of the movie, because there's a whole screenplay there that you have to articulate, and he never once told me what to do. He said, you know how to play this. On the first phone call. He said, you know what to do.
Because I heard him say something once that he knows from the eyes. The second someone walks in, he can tell from their eyes if they have the character inside them. And so much of the beginning of the movie is like dependent on your eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all you have. And I didn't know that at the time that was what. This is why he's a genius and I'm just a little surf actor, because I was like, I don't know what you mean and I don't know how to play it and I'm going to need you to tell me exactly what you want. And he just said, you know what to do. You know what to do. And I'd go home and I'd stand in front of the mirror and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. But then things would just start to happen because I kind of realized that you always hear about being open to the process or being open to the world and, listening to music in a certain way or looking at paintings in a certain way. And I realized the only way that I was going to be able to play it was if I completely left the world behind, I suppose, by opening up to it, by, actually like being able to feel the warmth of the sun on my face was something that really helped me play the creature. Just weird little things like that. Like I fully opened up to the world in a way that I hadn't before. I think the world started to inform the script and started to inform me. And that's what Guillermo knew would happen. And I don't know how he knew that. And I'm still kind of trying to figure it out,
I hope this question isn't too personal. I'm like thinking about the thing you just said. I'm going to pretend we're alone.
We are.
But was part of the wanting to disappear, fame hit really hard, really fast, and also like really attractive guy is like part of the thing. Is that part of what you were trying to disappear from?
I'm sure it must be. Or even just the being told that you are a certain kind. My biggest fear, and I think one of the greatest fears that most people have, is being misunderstood.
Yeah.
There's something about being misunderstood, and then the fight for and I think every actor feels this. You're trying to prove to them that no, I am the person, and I have read the book, and I have felt the thing, and I can do this thing, and then this weird thing happens. You think, well, if I can just get a job, if I can just act, that'll be enough. I'll be able to express it. But then this thing happened to me where it's like you start to act, and then they go, oh, you're that thing. You're like, no, that's not what I was saying. Like I'm trying to do this other thing, and then you start to get, I suppose, burdened by the character that gets created around you. That is the thing that plays in the movies that the people watch. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
A little hippy dippy.
No, it does. But I'll tell you what I think is really interesting, because you and I have height in common. And when we first met, we met a few weeks ago, and you had said to me when people would often say you're too tall for this, right? And I don't know if you had this experience, but a lot of times when I was coming up, people almost as like a negative joke would be like, go play Frankenstein. Yeah, you could play Frankenstein. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I thought when I was watching it, because I knew that we had that shared experience, but it also plays into the good looking part, right? Like sometimes we try to kill our superpowers. But what I felt like you did in this movie and with this role is you like reclaimed your superpowers. And you're like, yeah, I'll play Frankenstein's monster. And all of these things that you told me were prohibiting me from getting cast are going to be my strengths. And that monster that you made, the creature, is also so beautiful. It's the most beautiful depiction of Frankenstein's monster, that like I can't imagine a more compelling depiction because of these qualities.
It's so funny you say that. It's Frankenstein playing the creature in this movie, and there's actually a shot that you can see it in, is the first time that I've stood up straight
Yes.
in a movie and pulled my shoulders back and looked out over the set. And actually playing it allowed me to do that, because he does start in the world kind of in the way that I feel when you read these things about you, or you see what people say about you. Your shoulders start to close in, and you start to close off from the world. And it was just at a time where my mum had started saying to me, you need to stand up straight. Yeah. She's like, you just need, this is just who you are. You have to stand up straight. And there's a moment in the film when he undoes his shoulders and stands up and looks his father in the face and says, this is who I am. But it's interesting you say about being tall and being told to play Frankenstein, because when I had made my first movies at Netflix called The Kissing Booth, which were these sort of teenage romance films. And I spent far too much time on the internet back in the day. And I didn't even, I had no business having Twitter, and I was sitting there going through Twitter, and I was like, he's boring, he's a stiff, he's an idiot, he's a this. And one of them was, he's this plank of wood could play nothing but Frankenstein's monster. And
right.
this was in like 2018. Yes. And I remember I read it and I went, oh. I was like, a Byronic Gothic literary hero. That's like quite nice.
Oh, damn right. And then, now you get to say, and I'm going to get nominated for a damn Oscar for it. You know what I mean?
But do you know what happened? I was in Toronto shooting Priscilla, so I was playing Elvis in this movie, and the hair team were Guillermo's hair team.
Who's Elvis? I'm sorry. Go on.
Husband to Priscilla Presley. So I was playing Elvis Presley in this movie, and the hair team, I was like, "What are you guys doing next?" And they were like, "We're going to do Frankenstein with Guillermo del Toro." And I had the hair slicked on backward, and I was doing this voice, and I was sitting there, and I said, "I'm supposed to be in that movie." And Cleona, she was like, "Well, we have an actor, so you're not." And she's like, "Did you audition?" And I was like, "No, but I'm supposed to be in that movie." Oh. And this stuff, you hear these stories from people sitting in these fucking chairs all the time. And I remember sitting there watching, being like, yeah, is that how it happened? Like, that's how you got the fucking role? It was like that. But it really was like that. And I said that. And then Andrew pulled out. And then Cleona, who did my hair and Priscilla, went to Guillermo when he had pulled out and said, do you know this kid? And at the same time, Ted Sarandos had sent a link to Saltburn, this other film I'd made at the time, to Guillermo. Wow. So he watched it at the same time as Cleona was coming. And she said, he said he's supposed to do this movie. And then we got on the phone, and Guillermo saw me straight away and said, you know what to do. Like, you've been prepping to play this character. So the movie did come around from a tweet that someone said that was purely just about, my size and maybe stupid face. But there's something I do really believe. I'm not a deeply spiritual person, but there is something that works when your intention is set towards something and you're thinking about something and you're obsessing over something. It doesn't have to be specifically the role, but I was moving toward this thing that I could say what I really wanted to say in. And I feel like a lot of things were happening in the background at the same time.
The project found you when you needed it.
Yeah, which you hear people say.
Yeah, no, but I think
it's true. Yeah, there has to be some kind of spirit in these films and in these kinds of things, and I think you can see it when you watch this movie, I think Guillermo also, he does make his movies with magic. There is some Mexican magic in there, and I really do think that when I watched Pan's Labyrinth from Blockbuster Video when I was 12. That he had put something in the thing that came out across the screen that made the pale man mean something to me, that has put me in this position now to be able to be standing there doing my own sort of thing,
Yeah. Well, it's a little like the David Lynch idea that the art wants to come into being. And these geniuses are lucky enough to have the ability to pull from the other side and bring it over here. And it's going to do its thing. It's going to find the people. Yeah. So then he casts you and you're off into prep. What did prep look like?
Well, I was doing this TV show in Australia with this filmmaker, Justin Kurzel. And it was this prisoner of war series. So we'd all just been through like a 9-week boot camp, losing all our weight. Yeah. And halfway through shooting this death camp portion was when Guillermo called. So he called with 9 weeks for production to start for him, which was hard because he'd already built the prosthetics. Mike Hill, the designer, had built the prosthetics on a different actor who was considerably different size. And I still had 3 weeks to go filming. So I had about, from finishing the TV show in Australia to shooting this, I had about 4 weeks to go to my property in Australia and just kind of get feral. Was pretty much what it was. I just went away and I didn't really hear from Guillermo. He sent me like 20 books and 50 movies, and then that was the kind of thing that I had to take away and kind of get ready to go to.
I noticed so much about the way you move, like the specificity of it. There's this thing I noticed about Tom Waits where when he talks, his it's like his hands are 10 appendages because he uses his fingers so independently. And there was something about the way you moved that really, really captured that you were constructed of different people's limbs and bodies. Like they move sort of independently.
Independently, yeah. Yeah, I guess the thing is, the one thing that I knew was if the way that there's a section where he finds his story and he's turning the pages of the book, and I remember looking at it, if he grabs the book like this, you're not going to believe that he's a creature constructed of bits. If one movement was off, like if everything was fine and then I picked something up like that, it wouldn't have made
totally
sense. So I made this scrapbook journal where I wrote sort of as the creature, and I used my left hand. So then when I had a flurry of ideas, I'm right-handed. I couldn't get my ideas out quick enough, and then I'd get frustrated with the pen. But I did that for the 4-week process. Pretty much everything I wrote was in my left hand. Oof. So that I could understand sort of what it meant to send a message to your left little toe, and then it doesn't move when you sort of tell it to move, to figure out what that disconnect was. There was a lot of little things like that. And then Guillermo had this idea that I work with a Buto dance teacher, which is this Japanese dance, which is about reanimating a corpse. And so I did these movement classes, which were, I remember the coach, she'd have you walk around the room and you'd start walking normally. And then she'd say, your lungs are bellows, your feet coal in the steam engine, and your lungs are bellows, and your shoulders are fire. And then you'd have to start reacting as if your shoulder was on fire while your lungs were these bellows and your foot was a steam engine. And we ended up sort of creating a rhythm in the movement that then sort of got stuck, I suppose, in my body and helped me think about the idea of being constructed by these different corpses. And, does your shin have a memory of being kicked against a table that your left ear doesn't remember because it belonged to somebody else and it heard I love you a different way to your right ear? All these little things that kind of separate his body. I guess I'm still sort of putting it together how it happened.
But so talk about art finding what it needs to find. So now your preparation meets the prosthetics.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was the moment I put the prosthetics on was when I realized, because you can wear your jeans and a t-shirt in front of a mirror and do this all you like, and you're going to end up just having to crawl into bed and hide forever because it just didn't quite look right. And then the moment that I put the prosthetics on, it was like, it just made complete sense. And then the thing that actually took it over the line was I had these teeth that went in, and I had the movement down, not down, but I had the idea of how he moved. But then I had these kind of speeches that I had to get ready, and I didn't know how he would sound. And I had an idea for the voice, but then I put the teeth in, and it made everything come from behind the teeth. And as soon as I heard him speak from behind the teeth, I knew that he would have this whispery kind of hollowed sound to the way that he spoke. And then I looked in the mirror, and then I think the first thing I said in the mirror with the makeup was, now run. But then I put the teeth in and it breathed out from behind this thing. And then I knew I had something to kind of go with. But because the time was so short, I actually spent a lot of time.
It was 4 weeks. He prepped for that movie in 4 weeks. from what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, but it was a gift because I spent because you have so much fear before you go in to do a job that it needs to be exactly right by the time you want to have your lines down. This is how I like to work anyway. My lines 1,000 times over are just falling out of my mouth. My body is supple and sort of ready to go. And I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So I was doing takes knowing full well that it wasn't the right thing, and I was discovering it as I went. And then Guillermo would text me at the end of the day, the voice needs more gravel. I really liked when you blinked like that. He would just leave these things in there that were the right things. And then as we shot the movie, the creature became sort of more apparent to me. But it was nice to sort of to take the pressure of limited time and actually turn it into a freedom, I suppose, because as soon as I made the first mistake, I could make 100,000 more mistakes while I was filming, as opposed to having this character constructed and ready to go. And I think if I'd had a year to prep, I think I would have come in with something that was contrived and over thought out, and it made it more of a live process.
And he must have made you feel safe, I would imagine.
And that's the thing. I can't take credit for anything because he created the environment in which he said you cannot fail.
Oh.
He said this to everybody. He said, I'm a chef. When I cook, when I direct, I'm cooking for everybody. I'm cooking a feast. And he said, everybody is an artist that comes in and they can dine. And then everybody's going to be at this table eating. So you can't lose because you're just going to dinner. Like that's what it is. And so Guillermo has spent the last 30 years curating this crew that he works with. He works with the same people. He has found the finest artisans, and he is he's taken their art and then trained them in his art so that it meets in the middle. Like when he directs everything is shot on a crane in this movie. So there's just giant cranes everywhere. And when the camera comes out, you can hear while you're acting, he's sitting there with a little headset and he goes, bijou, 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 pen, 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 push, 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 go, 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 push, 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 okay, and cut. But he's fully, and these guys, he's not making any sound that makes sense. But these camera guys hear that, and then you'll see the camera start to, and then he'll go back, and the camera comes back and starts going.
Wow.
But it's this fully alive kind of, and then you start, after the second week, start going, you hear bijou, 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 and then I'll move over to the left a little bit because the camera's starting to learn, and the camera's starting to learn how I stumble forward, and Guillermo's starting to learn how that's going to fit in the frame. So you end up having this language that's happening after he goes, and he also starts every scene like this. He goes, action! So it's a fucking call to arms. It's like when he says action, you fall into this thing and you believe it, because he said the number one thing is that we create, all of us, to the crew and the actors and the set designers, that we create an environment that this creature is believable in, that you don't consider for a second that this is somebody in prosthetics. So everything in that film is done in a way that makes me feel like this is a conceivable sort of true thing. He built the reality for me. Yeah,
it's built around you, but it's the performance that does it. I'm telling you, man, like there is not a false note in that performance. To accommodate what you describe with the cranes, are the sets just giant and grand and huge?
Like nothing. I got to Toronto, to the Netflix studios, and there's sort of like a 1,000-car park at the front of the studios, and I drive in the SUV, and there's a full-blown ship. That ship in the movie is entirely practical. They had a rigging crew come from the UK to fix the masts, and it's built on this giant gimbal. So when the creature pushes the ship, it literally goes. So I literally felt this ship move kind of under my arms. And then you go into each studio. One studio is Victor's lab. One studio is the tower. One studio is the burnt out castle. And you walk in and there's moss covering the walls. There's snow dripping from the ceiling. There's a river running through the middle of the set. You can feel the steam blowing out of the pipes. It's all real. And he uses single source lighting. So everything is lit the night before. so that there's no C-stands or camera equipment or lights in the set. It's just a castle room. So all the light is coming through the windows as if you were in a real castle. So by the time I stepped onto set, I really wouldn't leave because I could just be this thing, especially in the cellars when I was chained up. I was sort of really chained into that table there. And you just sort of sit there for 8 or 9 hours in this space and not see, the only person you'd see is the camera operators behind the crane, and the rest of it was a real, fully functional,
it's
fairyland. Like,
the thing that really strikes me about the story itself is that at its heart, this is a father-son story, right? And there's that old expression that you have to kill some version of your parents, and then eventually you turn around and you become some version of your parents.
Yeah.
Did you tap into the father-son element of it all?
There was, I think, the first scene that Oscar and I shot together was the forgiveness scene, which was in the second week of filming. So that was the first time we really met each other and worked together.
First time you met, no rehearsals or anything like that?
We met in the hallway.
Wow.
Prior to that, but we didn't really do the actor thing or anything like that, which was nice.
Yeah.
And I remember I thought about my dad a lot on that day, but never so much like I wasn't thinking about the theme of it. It's not the kind of film where you could, when you're playing the creature, you don't want to think about the theme or what the movie means or what it might mean to an audience, because there is this really primal space that I kind of had to fill, I suppose. But it really hit home when I saw the movie in Venice. My dad came and watched it with me, and I remember I was sitting there, and at the end he says, "I forgive you," and then the credits rolled, and I just kind of went,
"Oh,
it's just that, like." And then I looked at Oscar, and he looked at his dad, and he was weeping, and we were all and that's when it sort of landed what the what the film really meant. But for me, it was more when I was playing the creature. It was just the idea of everyone. You always, just before you go to bed, just before you close your eyes, whether you're with your wife or someone you love, or there's people in the house, you kind of just before you close your eyes, you go, "Oh, like I am alone." I am. It's that thing. I am so, and it's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it's like I am so alone. And I think everybody has that when we start out. When you wake up in the morning, okay, and that was what was so sort of. That's what I felt like I got to express in the film, was that kind of universal aloneness that we all have, and how the inability for the world to see us the way that we actually are, or even for us when we look at ourselves in the mirror to see ourselves the way that we know that we are. That's what the movie was for me, I think, and the film, I hope watching it gives the same experience that I had playing it, which is it let me have that conversation with myself when I'm talking to Victor, and to be able to forgive yourself and forgive the world, and to be able to go out into it in spite of all the brutality and the shit and the stuff that makes you not want to get out of bed, and look at the sun and say, what recourse do I have but to be here and to just live? It gave me that playing it. So I do hope that the film does something like that.
It does. And I think anyone who can give performances like you give, and anyone sitting in this room who's trying to do this job that is its own vaguely abusive relationship, has to be a really complicated person within. And when I was watching the movie, your performance, the prosthetics, and just the literalness of what the creature is, he is the literal broken man.
Yeah.
Trying to make sense of the world, like trying to find some redemption. And I think the fact that it was you playing it, and for all the qualities we talked about before, you're able to see yourself in it. It's not a outside creature that you're afraid of. It's like, oh, deep down, this is what I actually feel like. And I wonder if that's why you were able to stand up straight in that thing, because you're like, yeah, I'm good looking, I'm tall, I'm successful right now, but actually I feel like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's really is like, he's the flayed man. One of the sculptures that was a reference for the creature's makeup was the flayed man, which is this I think a martyr. It's a statue, it's this marble statue of a martyr, and he's wearing this great robe. And then when you read the description, the robe is his skin, and he's been flayed open, and he's totally exposed, and he's wearing his skin like a robe. And that's kind of, I guess, what the creature is like. It's like, did you ever in school, did you ever dim sim anybody's pencil case? It's a pencil, and you turn it inside out. It's called dim simming it. That's what I felt like I did when I played this. Like, it was like dim simming myself.
Yeah, you put your insides outside.
Yeah, you really do. Put yourself out there for the world to.
It's the definition of great art. It's the bravery of putting your inside outside. Like, when you put it like that, that's what I think that the ultimate goal is how honest are you willing to be between action and cut? Yeah. How willing are you not to look pretty? How willing are you to be ugly and tortured and all of these things? And that role calls for someone to drop all their vanity and just be honest between action and cut in like the most primal way. And you really nailed it, man.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, to just bookend this, I just feel like, I understand the point of all these conversations, but as a room full of actors, the reason I'm here is I think the grander point is for us to celebrate when an actor does it. And this guy did it. And so, Jacob Elordi.
Thank you. Thank you.